Joining us now from London is our Rise News chief correspondent, John Cookson. John, good morning to you. What are the main points of this new Brexit deal that you can tell us?
A very good morning to you. A dramatic day ahead at Westminster, where frankly anything can happen. That crucial vote tonight is at 1900 hours GMT. That's 8 o'clock tonight, Nigeria time. It could be a long night because there will be some amendments to the basic motion that the government's putting forward based on what Theresa May came back from Brussels with last night. The cabinet meet in a short while from now, and the timetable today is looking like something like at around 12:30 GMT. The Attorney General will give his verdict on what Theresa May has come back with. You recall, of course, that the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, said late last year, that in fact the current withdrawal deal, if it's not amended, could, in theory, keep the UK inside the EU indefinitely because of this Irish backstop. He'll give his verdict a little bit later. And then Theresa May will be in the House of Commons at around 1 o'clock local time to open the debate. So, as I say, a long afternoon and evening ahead. What does she come back with? Well, she came back with three main documents. And the first one was an agreement between the UK and the EU that the EU effectively can't hold the UK inside the Brexit indefinitely. In other words, trying to allay some of the fears that the hardline Brexiteers have, and indeed the Attorney General, that backstop can keep the UK tied to the EU indefinitely. Then there was a legal commitment by both sides, the UK and the EU, to find an alternative to the backstop before it comes into force at the end of 2020. And then finally, there was a document agreeing that if there's a breakdown in trade talks between the UK and the EU in the transition period, then the UK can trigger a process whereby it can leave unilaterally from the European Union. That was what Theresa May was just referring to at the end of her last clip that we played. So, as I say, a momentous day ahead. The big question is, does she have enough votes to get this through? We can talk about that in a moment. All I can say is that the Irish Premier said, Mr. Varadkar, before leaving for the US, that he thought that what was on the table was now a fair compromise. However, Theresa May does need the support of Northern Ireland's MPs to get this through, and they are saying that it actually falls short of the promises that she's made earlier. So things very much in the air at the moment, dear, but basically those are the three documents, as I just outlined, that she came back with, agreed with the EU last night. Dear.
Well, John, the Prime Minister also said that her Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, would publish his legal advice on the changes to the deal before the vote. Now, how important is the Attorney General's advice on this?
I think for all wavering MPs, and certainly on the Conservative side, it's absolutely crucial. And of course, Theresa May suffered a crushing defeat the last time the withdrawal agreement in its original form was put forward of 230. So there's a long way to go. And when we've talked in recent days, Adir, I've suggested to you that with some kind of a guarantee that she appears to have got, she may still be between 80 and 100 votes short. So every bit of help she can get from the Attorney General will be gratefully received by Theresa May. Now, the other point to make is that if there is a momentum building triggered by the Attorney General's advice, if it's positive, that is, and we don't know that it's going to be, but if it is, let's assume that it is, because he's been deeply involved in these negotiations, then if sufficient Tories are convinced, then that will convince wavering Labour Party members, because they're not going to burn their political votes and vote with the government until they know for sure, Idir, that there's a reasonable chance of this thing getting through. Dear.
Well, John, our Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, said the Prime Minister's negotiations had, in quote, failed, and the announcements did not contain anything approaching the changes she had promised Parliament. Now, John, what happens if MPs throw it out for a second time tonight?
Oh, oh, it doesn't bear thinking about. If they do throw it out for a second time, then tomorrow there'll be another vote, and Theresa May has promised MPs that they can vote whether to take no deal off the table. Now, no deal, of course, is arguably Theresa May's trump card in any negotiations with Europe. So this would be a disaster for Theresa May, frankly, if that happens, because my sense of it is that the MPs en masse will vote to take no deal off the table. In other words, there must be a deal before the UK leaves the European Union on March the 29th. Now, if that happens, then there will be another vote on Wednesday, tomorrow, or perhaps even Thursday, on the question of whether to extend Article 50 and to extend the whole process beyond a departure on March the 29th. And the ramifications of all of that would be that it would really open up Theresa May to some serious political wounding, I think. Now, whether she would survive all that by the end of the week remains to be seen. So that really, again, emphasises how important this vote is tonight. Dear.
Well, John, just as important as this vote is the fact that I trust your judgment, and we always trust your predictions. Now, the big question that I have for you, John, is will May get the amended deal across the line tonight? What do you think?
All I'll say at this point, because the day is yet young, and a lot can happen, is that there's a much better chance than back in January for Theresa May to get it across the line. If she does, it will only be by 1 or 2 votes. It won't be by a huge landslide. All factions within the Commons, that's the hardline Brexiteers and the Remainers, they've got their own lawyers, and the lawyers are making a mint at the moment, poring over the detail of the documents that Theresa May came back from Brussels with, and then the lawyers will give their opinion to the various political factions, and we'll only know which way things are going to go by around 4 or 5 o'clock local time. That's around 6 o'clock in the evening, Nigeria time. Ask me then, and I'll say yes or no. At the moment, you know, it's just too close to call, I'm afraid. Dear.
Well, John, many thanks for joining us this morning to discuss this and for all the updates.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Arise News Chief Correspondent there, John Cookson.